This video will show you how to replace the front sealed wheel bearing on a Cadillac CTS. This will be located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Let's get ready to remove our front wheel. To do that, the first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, you're going to remove all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts so we can get the wheel off of here. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, that exposes our brakes. We're going to have to remove the brakes to gain access to the wheel bearing located just behind it. We're going to have to remove the entire caliper with bracket from around the brake rotor. Now with that said, it's easiest to slide this out of place if you push back your caliper pistons. For that, I'm using a small pry bar. I'm going to go underneath my caliper, up against my bracket, and gently pry. Now once you have movement from this area, let's make our way along the inboard side. As we make our way along the inboard side, we're looking for these two 18mm headed mounting bolts. These are the bolts that hold the caliper and caliper bracket in place to the steering knuckle. Once we've removed each of these, we're going to have to hang this aside, putting no pressure on our brake flex hose. As I remove the first mounting bolt, I'm going to give it a thorough inspection and then just start it back in a couple threads while moving on to the next one. As I mentioned, we're just going to hang this aside. To remove the brake rotor, typically you're going to find that you have a small T30 torque screw that has to be removed. But keep in mind, this is the last thing holding the brake rotor in place. You don't want it to fall off and potentially hurt you. Remove the brake rotor. We'll give that a quick inspection. We'll clean it before installing. For now, we'll set it aside. With that brake rotor out of the way, we have a clear view of our front wheel bearing. Let's make our way along the forward upper side here for our ABS wheel speed sensor wire. Now in this area, we can see where our ABS wheel speed sensor wire has their connector. We're going to carefully pull away on the locking tab, and then we should be able to pull down on that connector, separating it. Once you have it separated, you need to make sure you give each end a thorough inspection for corrosion. If you see any, it needs to be taken care of. After disconnecting that, you're going to have to turn the wheel in one direction or the other to remove the 3 18mm headed mounting bolts holding the wheel bearing to that front steering knuckle. There's our first mounting bolt. Now I'm going to turn the steering wheel in the opposite direction for the next 2. Now looking from the other side, we can see our rearward lower mounting bolt, and then we have our upper mounting bolt. Now as far as this bolt, you're not going to be able to fully remove it, but you will be able to loosen it enough to be able to remove the bearing. Now for this one, minimal room, using my 18mm wrench. Now I'm going to switch to my ratcheting side of my 18mm wrench. Let's leave that bolt in place, and we'll continue on with the removal of the bearing itself. While we're still back here, let's just use some penetrant. We'll apply penetrant on this side. Continuing on, we're going to separate the bearing from the steering knuckle. In between the bearing and the steering knuckle, you're going to find that you do have a backing plate. Let's be careful not to cause any damage to that. Now, there's multiple ways of doing this. If you have a bearing removal tool, you can use that. Some people don't. A hammer might be the tool you'll need. If that's the case, we're going to be tapping on this, attempting to drive this out. As you can see, this is separating just as I need it to. Of course, I do want to be careful this does not fall down and potentially hurt me. I'm just going to slide this out of the way as we continue on. Hold on to that backing plate. There it is, friend. Once you feel as though you have the bearing out of place, we need to pay attention in this area. Now, this should actually be a through port. You can tell that the bearing separated, so I'm going to have to finish removing the rest of the wheel bearing. For this, I like to tap it from the inboard side outward. You can use an air hammer, you can use a regular hammer, whatever's easiest for you. Let's continue the removal here. Let's get a little bit more. There's the rest of that wheel bearing. Now at this point, let's make sure we clean the steering knuckle. Now to clean that steering knuckle, there's several different things you can use. You can use some sandpaper, wire brush, whatever you might happen to have. We're cleaning inside of the circular area here. And then of course, we need to make sure we clean along this outboard flange on the steering knuckle itself. During the installation, this needs to be a smooth surface. We'll use some parts cleaner. I have a collection receptacle under here. Make sure there's no raised areas. While we're still in the cleaning phase, let's make sure we clean all three of our mounting bolts. We have the two that we could easily remove, and we have the third that is still in place on the steering knuckle. You can use your wire brush for those as necessary. After cleaning all three of those, let's continue on some anti-seize. We're going to be using this anti-seize around the inner diameter of this circular port and along the outer flange on the steering knuckle. After all that, let's just pay attention to our backing plate. We're going to clean both sides of the backing plate along the mating surfaces. The outboard sides where the bearing would sit. Use a wire brush. The inboard side where the knuckle would be. Now let's get this in place. We're sliding it over our bolt that's still in place. We want to make sure we have it in the proper orientation so the caliper can fit into this slotted area. Just press that bolt through while we continue on. Now it's time to install the brand new front wheel bearing. Before installing it, have a quick look along the back side. You're going to find that it came with this plastic area. This is just part of the packaging and it protects the electrical connector. Go ahead and slide that out and you can dispose of that properly. As we start bringing the wheel bearing into place, we want to pay attention to our ABS wheel speed sensor wire connector. This is going to slide through our circular port, but it needs to be on the upper forward corner so it's in the proper orientation. Slide that in. So I've got the top bolt started in now. That'll prevent this from falling. Let's continue on to the other two pieces of hardware. Now I'll just make my way along the rearward side for the next mounting bolt. They're all started in. Let's go ahead and snug them up. The torque for these would be 92 foot-pounds. As you know, the upper one might be difficult to torque. Just make sure it's nice and tight. Get this one. I've got my torque wrench here. There's that one. Let's make our way up here for this one. I just have my long wrench. Onto the rear. After torquing all 3 mounting bolts, let's continue on to our electrical connector. We'll make sure we have it in the proper orientation. Just go ahead and line it up, press it in. We'll listen for an audible click and make sure it's secure. There we are. Perfect. Now along the outboard side of the wheel bearing, on the mating surface, we're going to apply some anti-seize. As we apply this, we're making our way all the way around and we're paying special attention to the port where our mounting bolts would be. We want to make sure we have some anti-seize in there. Now we have to pay attention to our brake rotor, specifically along the inboard side where our wheel bearing hub would be. Clean this area. Use a wire brush and some parts cleaner if necessary. Let's get our brake rotor in place. We're making sure we align the ports for our mounting bolt. So you have it on there. Go ahead and install the mounting bolt. Now we can install our brake caliper. We want to make sure our brake pads are separated so we can slide all of this over our brake rotor. Once you have that in place, we're continuing along on the inboard side here. We have our 2 18mm headed mounting bolts. We'll start them in, snug them up, torque each of these to 94 foot-pounds. This one in here. Now that they're snug, I'm going to torque them to 96 foot-pounds. This looks good. Now, one last quick inspection in this area, and we can reinstall our wheel. With that in place, we'll continue on to all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts. We'll start them on, get the wheel back on the ground, torque each of them to 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. I've got the wheel back on the ground. Let's go ahead and torque these lug nuts to that 100 foot-pounds. Torqued. Okay, friend, we finished our installation. Now the next thing you have to do is take your vehicle for a road test. Listen for any odd noises, make sure you have no ABS light, and get yourself a 4-wheel alignment. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.